But we probably will not see Junior Caminero back on the field until talking mid to end July here.
And you're talking about on the field in Durham, not on the field in the majors.
Yes,
with the call.
correct. I mean, talk about like he's probably not going to even get into a game until mid-July.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And I'm Evan Closky.
Evan Closky, one of our favorite guests. We've had a lot of them over the years, and we appreciate Evan for joining us just about every week. A twofer, Thursday and Friday episode. Evan, it seems like injuries are afoot with the Rays. Again, not only in the majors, but in the minors as well. Junior Caminero getting some nasty news, and Josh Lowe, that oblique is peeking up on him again.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Lowe's looking like he's going to return when first eligible, at least at this point. He got to work in yesterday, or I should say on Tuesday, he got a full workout in, and it seems like everything went well there. So I would expect Josh to come back very soon. As for Junior Caminero, he's out 4 to 6 weeks with a grade 2 quad strain. This, of course, goes back to the injury at the end of March when he initially hurt the quad. He's been in and out of the lineup since then, but this is a worse injury than what he had back in late March. Soft tissue. You're seeing it with the oblique stuff. Hamstrings, quads, obliques, bad news bears, outside of the obvious ones, which are, elbow and shoulder. But we probably will not see Junior Caminero back on the field until talking mid to end July here.
And you're talking about on the field in Durham, not on the field in the majors.
Yes,
with the call.
Correct. I mean, talk about like he's probably not going to even get into a game until mid-July if, maybe if he progresses quick enough, but considering it's a quad injury and it's been hampering him all season long, you have to imagine they're going to be pretty conservative with Junior this time around, especially being a star prospect, especially, let's say that the Rays do turn it around and they are fighting for a wild card spot and they do want to, put him on the team towards the end of the season. It would really behoove them to lean towards the 6 weeks versus the 4 weeks in that formula. But, even so, he's going to have to ramp back up. He's going to have to play a handful of games. So, I mean, we're talking late July where we're having Junior Caminero conversations again. The best case scenario is around July 4th. He's starting to play some games, but, we're still in July with Junior.
So are we going to be hearing the whole, a trade deadline acquisition is Junior Caminero, kind of? Like the whole thing that people say, are we going to have to listen to that this year?
Depends on where the Rays are, because the deadline acquisitions, it could be Junior Caminero in a sense of, we got nothing else to lose, right? So might as well bring him up. If there's a lot of baseball that needs to be played between now and when Junior would come back, and still to this point, even a healthy Junior, it's been really tough to kind of find a role for him on this team. They will carve one out, obviously, but it's a little bit murky this year as they still want him to develop. And his exit velocity stuff has been fantastic, but he's been injured for a lot of this year, and the production hasn't been there like it was last year, which made him a top 5 prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah. Interestingly, we will have a Rays prospect on the program, I believe, next week. Inside Baseball, we pre-recorded that interview, and this individual had glowing reviews, as you would expect, about one Junior Caminero, along with his power.
Got a little tease?
And an arm, and his improving field work as well. So.
Learning from the best in the biz. You got to tease the reveal a little bit, right, Evan?
That's right.
Yeah, we'll give you 3 guesses on who you think it is.
Little nibbles before you can have the full dino nugget. I got it.
I actually, speaking of dino nuggets, that is something I enjoy on the reg using the old air fryer there. Now, Josh Lowe, the oblique issue popping up again. Do you have any major concern? I know he's expected back once that IL stint wraps up, but the offense is already struggling as it is, and then you lose him again, and that leaves a void in the lineup. And I just hope this isn't an ongoing problem for him the rest of the season, in addition to maybe it takes a couple games for him to get back into the swing of things after being on the mend again.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a concern. As I mentioned, oblique injuries are, it's not like a broken bone. Bone, you let it heal in due time. You build up strength. It's good to go. Soft tissue, it's tough because you can get imaging, you can get all this stuff. It just doesn't really tell you the whole story, and you can feel great and get your work in, and then somewhere down the line, you're just right back to square one with a tweak. Now, it seems like what Josh went through is what Brandon Lowe went through when he went down to Durham, had a little bit of a scare, went to the doctor, and they said, look, you're returning to action, you're probably going to feel soreness again in this area, and you're just going to have to be in a pain tolerance deal. And, it's really on kind of the Rays to not run Brandon into the ground day in and day out. But to my knowledge, it does seem like Josh had a little bit more of a scare than a setback. And the Rays did, out of an abundance of caution, just told him to take kind of the 10 days off and let's just not make it any worse. So that's at least where it stands now. I mean, Brandon has been playing for a little more than a week and a half or so. So hopefully he's okay. He's playing Mason Miller. He had to swing very hard. So my concern is just it hasn't changed from when he returned from Durham to where it is now, just in general of obliques and the severity that can cause.
Order supplies from the website that it's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. There is so much stuff. Great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks, and the trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. We talk about the injury to Josh, which, like you said, similar to what Brandon Lowe experienced. Let's stay on Brandon Lowe for a little bit. There was a play against the Athletics on Tuesday evening, which resulted ultimately in one of the the three runs were unearned for Zach Littell.
Mm-hmm.
I looked this up. It wasn't a routine play. It wasn't the most difficult play. Max Schumann is in the 77th percentile in sprint speed. So not a slow guy, but also, just so we all are aware, Harold Ramirez is in the 80th percentile. So Max is slower than Harold. What was your take on that play and how that game unfolded?
It's a play it's a play you have to make. So if you charge in, throw the ball over, and he beats you out, like, you tip your cap, right? But I think that if he does field the ball cleanly, he probably is going to get that runner. my impressions of that game is just who cares, right? I mean, best case scenario, he would have made that play. We're talking about a 0-0 game in the 10th inning. And usually I like to say, oh, if it's 0-0 game, things are different. There's different motivation factors, so on and so forth. With the way this offense is going, they're not giving me the benefit of the doubt for me to believe that they would have scored one run in that contest. They're not dating back to a handful of years now under the new rule, the Rays are not a great extra inning team in this format. They just, they're a team that doesn't really bunt. They're not great at moving runners over. A lot of strikeout hitters. Just, the bullpen depth is a little bit weaker, though. In that contest, they would have actually been all right since Littell went 7. But the biggest takeaway is Littell continues to impress me. He's not like Zach Eflin from last year. I just think that he deserves his flowers in a very inconsistent year for a lot of Rays players. I think start in, start out, exactly what you're getting. And the error was extremely unfortunate, and it's just sort of the way the Rays season has gone. Someone messes up and it becomes a whole big thing. If you score 5 runs in a game, the starting pitching stunk. If the starting pitching was great and the hitting was good enough, the relief pitching stunk. If the hitting, if the starting pitching and the relief pitching were great, the hitting did nothing. If all 3 things did great, the fielding somehow screwed it up. So it just they're a team that hasn't found its groove and hasn't felt in sync all year. I think at different portions we have felt better about how this team has played, the different units of this team, how they've played, with maybe the hitting being the worst throughout. But, the bullpen looks a lot better than it did in April. The starting pitching has had ups and downs, but I think overall it's been a little bit better than expected. Certainly injuries are bad. And I would just say that the general consensus is Brandon Lowe, Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena. Those guys are playing right now, and you are the head of the snake, and you can't be the reason why this team is losing, directly or indirectly. So, in the most critical of scenarios, Brandon, who is a leader on this team, who helped them win the game previously with a huge base knock to kind of take all that mojo away and create an error which had a ripple effect is disheartening.
I've got a hypothetical.
Okay.
Brandon Lowe struggling offensively. Randy Arozarena struggling offensively. They aren't the only 2 guys struggling offensively, but their numbers, and in Brandon Lowe's respect, he hasn't played a lot this season. But who would you buy stock in the rest of the season? Lowe or Randy? Who will finish with a better campaign when it's all said and done? Until the end of the year.
That's a really tough question. In what regard are we talking? Like WRC
just overall
plus?
Numbers. I'm talking OPS, just across the board.
I would still lean towards Randy, only because I have a tough time believing he has fallen this far off the cliff. I mean, he is not a Major League Baseball player right now. But look at his past few years. He's been one of the most consistent. You can almost lock in the home runs, the stolen bases, the RBIs, the runs, the average. Everything's been so across the board consistent for him to just completely forget how to hit a fastball. I don't know if I fully believe it. I just, eventually he has to just have the one tinker to his mechanics that's gonna fix it. And has Randy fully done that? Right? Is Randy fighting a lot of stubbornness right now? I don't know. It seems like it from the outside looking in. But I would bet Randy, and not to say that I believe that Brandon's going to get better as well. You just have to understand that Brandon at this point in his career is probably, throughout a healthy season, a 200-something hitter, a 220-something hitter. and should bop a bunch of home runs. And we know he's going to have a 2-week stretch where he absolutely crushes the ball. And then he's going to have a 2-week stretch where he whiffs 40% of the time. So if I just had to take that bet, I would lean on Randy. But, while both teams are severely slumping right now, it's tough to buy anything.
It's tough to buy anything regarding a lot of things. And let's move down to the catching position, Evan.
It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. So go ahead, do it right now. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, LOCKEDON, to make every playoff shot count. Again, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's LOCKEDON. FanDuel, they are America's #1 sportsbook.
One of my least favorite Rays of all time has been Jose Molina, especially his 2014 season. This man.
Let me add in, Ulises, there have been a lot of catchers in Rays history that you have had a strong dislike for, but I would say Jose Molina certainly is the case. He is not alone in that regard.
No, there's a lot of catchers there, but he had like a 470 OPS in that season, and I went to look at his game logs. Legitimately, every game he played in 2014, Evan, there were 2 stretches where he went 0 for 11. One to start the season, and one in the later part of the season. 0 for 11 twice. Alex Jackson, 0 for 25. So he's done that twice in one stretch.
Yeah.
You're hitting around 30. I know batting average is not the most important stat, but it is one stat. And in this stat, and in a lot of them, the numbers are not making sense. Negative 52 WRC plus. So
impressive.
It
really is hard to do that.
Impressively bad, yes.
Like if you were to call up like a AA player right now, just like a very average AA player, they would somehow get at least like 2 hits.
So what are we talking about here? Like how much of a leash do you have if you're Alex Jackson, understanding Pinto's not scorching at a Triple-A at all right now. Actually, he's like 2 for his last 18. Logan Driscoll was killing it, but he's on the IL. Are we just seeing Alex Jackson until July? Well, what's going on?
So there's a couple of things with the Alex Jackson conversation. So I 100% agree with kind of the frustrations from everybody out there that, from a very black and white standpoint, like there's no reason why Alex Jackson should be on a major league roster right now. Just like being as objective as possible. The man, for whatever reason, gets to the major leagues and completely is lost. So the Rays, from their perspective, they have a really hard time believing that a guy who mashes Triple-A pitching the way that he does just all of a sudden forgets how to hit at the major league level. They really believe deep down, if they can kind of like, hey, we're here to support you. We believe in you. We know you're gonna get through this. That eventually that player that's in there that they see at the lower level is going to emerge, and the power will come with it. But he is in quite a spiral right now, and it's bad. So that is, let me just tell you, that is just sort of the overarching theme, is that it's very hard to believe that a player can be this bad who is so good in Triple-A. The flip side, who do you want up to replace Alex Jackson? Everyone's going to say, I want Rene Pinto. Rene Pinto, while having a decent OPS, because when he got sent down to Triple-A, had a little bit of a heater, he's hitting 200. He's in 200 in Triple-A. He is doing nothing with the bat to prove that he deserves to be back with the Rays. And if you believe in Rene Pinto, then it behooves you to continually work on him at the lower levels to figure that out. On top of, Rene Pinto is not a good defensive catcher. We learned that. He was up here. His pop time is not good enough. The way that he holds runners on or is able to catch stealing, they run all over him. It's just not good enough. So when you look at all the kind of like the analytics with catchers, like Rortvedt and Jackson, their pop times are significantly better than Rene, which is why if Rene came up and caught, you would see a bunch of stolen bases again. It's still an issue. It's still happening. I think it now is a little bit more the pitcher issue than the catcher issue, though, of where they're not doing it on everybody. They're just kind of, Jason Adam comes in. Oh, we can steal on this guy. He's too slow to the plate. So I think it's a little bit more selective. So the offense you're asking for Rene to come up is probably not going to overwhelm you in the sense, and you're going to bring up a worse catcher. So you might as well keep the guy who can hit and at least is going to defend versus maybe getting an extra double here or there, maybe a home run here or there. Like in the grand scheme over a larger sample size, you might lose a couple of runs by having him on the plate. And I haven't even spoken about his framing abilities. You might lose a couple of runs behind him on the plate, though fans will think about the offense, about the 1 or 2 home runs he hits. It's over a 2-week stretch or something. It just, they're in a really bad position is the best way that I can put it. Rortvedt, his WRC plus looks great. He's still feeding off of a great April, similarly to how we thought of Taylor Walls last year around this time, right? Feeding off an amazing start and then right down in the drain. So, Ben's coming back down to reality, and they're just kind of in no man's land with catcher. They have a couple of good options in Double-A. You mentioned Driscoll as well. They got some things cooking, but if they were to enter a selling sort of mindset, my belief is they would target a highly coveted catcher to maybe finally fill that void for them. I think that would behoove them moving forward, because what we are seeing is bad. It's pathetic. I'll just straight up fastball it. It's pathetic. So if they're not good enough behind the plate, they're not good enough hitting, it's not good enough, period. And I don't know if they have anybody internally who can fix that. So they're just leaning on defense over offense at this point.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way to go. And if you look at his WAR right now, Alex Jackson, like even his defense, if it can be as amazing as it is, the offense is so bad. He's a negative 0.4 F4 player. So like even overall value, he's just not getting it done. And you have no alternatives, it seems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't provide you a great answer out there, but for people barking that I'd rather see Rene Pinto, there's a dark side to that as well. It's not, it's just a bad spot for them. It's just a bad spot.
The dark side is maybe the Rays shouldn't have got rid of Blake Hunt, who I believe was traded from the Mariners org to the Orioles org. And he's been putting up some good numbers this season.
I mean, yes. And, if Blake Hunt was also so good, he'd be up right now. They would have kept him. He wouldn't have been traded again. There's balancing acts of all of this stuff. I don't think Blake Hunt would have been your catcher of the future either. He certainly would be better than some of the things we're seeing right now. But, I'm not here banging the drum saying that letting Blake Hunt go is a regrettable decision. I just think they need to actually invest in a position, something they did a couple of years ago, and who we see in the Montgomery roster. Just that's not going to help you in 2024.
As much as Blake Hunt is a friend of the program and a brilliant baseball mind and really good ball player, if I may add, let's hope that he doesn't be the great tandem to Adley Rushman, because that could mean for
that would
some
hurt.
rough years against the Rays for sure.
That would hurt.
Evan, how can people find your wonderful work?
Yeah, you can head at Closky WTSP on the X, formerly known as Twitter. And I will engage with fans 99% of the time. The 1% of the time is if you are a jerk or you're just annoying me at that point, and I'm going to stop. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, 10tampabay.com, we're following Tampa is trying to win its 9th national championship. We'll follow them this weekend. Also, Gators, Seminoles, UCF, all in the NCAA tournament for baseball. But it's a quiet time right now, so we're really invested in the Rays, Buccaneers, OTAs, and just trying to sink our teeth into that stuff.
Yeah, and you all need to get to YouTube, because if you missed it, there was a cleaning lady right behind Closky. That's what we do on this program. We bring you the good stuff.
It's authentic.
Peek behind the curtain. We're organic, baby.
That's right. Yeah. You think it's all pretty and glamorous over here. It's not.
In fact,
news to you, it's not.
There's a rolly suitcase behind him because he's such a hard worker. He came from the airport straight through.
That's my camera gear over there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but I actually think that's David's camera gear, so I don't want to move it. Yeah, okay. That's David's. Mine's over
Evan's
here.
at the office, and I'm in my underoos recording here. So
that's right. With his potato with 2 antennas.
I mean, pay raise, anybody? Just saying. If you want better internet connection, got to pay for it. All right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe. We will talk to you on Friday.